Hey everybody, this is Untitled Driving Game Devlog number 3. I'm going to go over what I've been doing for the last month and the current state of the game. I'll touch on the gameplay mechanics, game modes, some multiplayer testing, and then talk about the stylized look that I've been toying with. There's a lot of games I'm taking inspiration from while creating Untitled Driving Game, but a few in particular are at the core of that, in this case freak style. Plenty of games have allowed players to do tricks in different kinds of vehicles, but freestyle was always a big standout to me. Stupid fun, over-the-top motocross game with a great soundtrack and a wide variety of crazy tricks to pull off while racing. Not only did all the characters have their own flair and tricks, but all the tracks were varied with all their own different routes to take depending on your style. This allowed for a decently high skill ceiling combined with the arcade handling and tricks, which kept me playing for hours on end, even just improving myself against the AI. When I think about it, there's only so many tricks that a full-size vehicle can do in air without a character or something like unusual modifiers, for instance opening a car door while flipping or turning on the lights. With that in mind and other influences I previously mentioned, I really wanted to try prototyping some form of character tricks. It's been in the back of my mind, but I kept hesitating. Sure, you could have them hang out the windows, make gestures, or even do really quick unrealistic animations like jumping across the roof or something, but the only way I thought I could make that work was by making all the cars convertibles, which I didn't really want to do, and I still thought it might not look right. Then when I was looking at a YouTube video a while ago, I came across one that has some mini trucks, and I thought they'd be perfect for doing tricks on because, they're essentially ATVs with 2-scale bodies. As soon as I saw that, I remembered some of the half-size cars I've seen and figured that angle might be perfect for having a player doing tricks in a vehicle. Turns out, I'm not completely wrong. It does work, and by that, I mean it looks absolutely hilarious. I wouldn't even call myself a Blender noob, but I'd opened up Blender and I attempted to make a vehicle my own and pose a UE mannequin inside it for animating. But it was a pretty poor attempt. Then I just decided to scale down the truck model and put the mannequin in as is. It's just a prototype, so I did move the steering wheel to the middle, but I didn't fix the cab and add a player seat, so it looks a little weird. But I did add 2 test tricks, a Superman and a surfing pose. I'm not tabling the thought permanently. On one hand, I'm absolutely in love with the idea and glad I took the time to do the basic prototyping for it. On the other hand, I don't really think the half-size vehicles and by extension the character tricks are right for Untitled Driving Game right now. I've had a mission to make the vehicle feel as realistic as possible, not like a toy RC vehicle, while still offering a stylized driving experience and environment. This felt like it really went against that idea. Plus, even if it does add variety, character animation and modeling will cost me a lot more in the long run. One of the things from the last devlog I mentioned that I wanted to do was have a fully playable round. My goal is eventually to create some unique gameplay modes specific to the game's style, but since I already had package delivery in the game, I decided to turn that into the first mode. I wanted to have a reason for the player to be picking up packages, so I found a plane model and created a little animation for it so that it flies across LATC dropping packages. I added a sequence that showed the plane and locations of all the packages when dropping into the map and added a countdown timer. The player is supposed to collect all the packages in the time limit while getting the highest score possible. Initially, when I had the project in mind, I was thinking of an objective-based mode similar to the Tony Hawk games, potentially combined with package and passenger delivery. I have a bunch of random possibilities for objectives written down, from basics such as grind these rooftop gaps and collect drive to more complex and specific tasks such as push start the stalled car and interrupt the baseball game. I really like the idea of objective-based gameplay, but I want a reason for the players to be performing tasks and getting points. One of the reasons it feels like I didn't make as much progress on the game as I intended is that I spent a week building a multiplayer racing prototype in UE4. I've never worked on any type of multiplayer game before, so this was an interesting learning experience and it taught me a lot. I spent a lot of time reading on best practices for implementing physics-based multiplayer. The project, which is available on GitHub, and I'll link it in the description, has the following features: a single-player race mode, multiplayer race mode, basic main menu and pause menu, custom hover vehicle using raycast and sub-stepping with the MMT plugin, and it's coded all in blueprints. It's licensed under the WTFPL license, so you can go look at it and download it, whatever you want to do with it. At first I tried to implement physics entirely server-side, which seemed to work, but it wasn't ideal on the client side. There's a lot of jittering, and while I tried to smooth it out, I couldn't quite wrap my head around it. Then I updated the physics to be client-side, and I set the pond to only replicate the static mesh component. This seems to work fine. Collisions work and appear to function the same on the client and the server. This is just a local listen server. I haven't tested with another person over the internet, but I introduced some lag and it still felt smooth, good enough for a casual game. My feeling is it's a little bit too smooth and I'm doing something wrong where this won't translate over the internet or things will get out of sync. I've definitely got more work and testing to do. I do have a basic understanding of the UE4 multiplayer flow now, and I feel comfortable enough starting to re-architect code in the main project. I could see how it would be a pain to implement multiplayer in an existing project, but I think I'm still early enough to where it's not going to matter much. It's a good thing I haven't nailed down the full game experience, right? I think I've said it before, but I'll reiterate. I still consider all the art assets in this game to be placeholders. It doesn't mean some of them, specifically the vehicles, might not make it into the final game, but assuming this project keeps going, I am planning to outsource the final art and probably level design. I do still like making things look at least acceptable in the meantime, so I picked up another marketplace asset for creating stylized environments. I've already started integrating some of the lighting and assets from the pack into LATC, and I'm pretty satisfied with the results. There's been an idea in my head to create a rural forest-based level for the game. Slembo Slem on Twitter commented "Car of the Wild" on the preview of this truck driving through the demo level, and that's pretty close to what I'm thinking about. I can't really recall any driving or racing games set in stylized environments quite like that. Art of Rally's probably the game that comes closest, but it's more of a low poly aesthetic focused, if that makes sense, than what I'm thinking of. It's possible that it hasn't been done because it just doesn't fit, or that it's really hard to make it look like the vehicle fits. It definitely doesn't look amazing just throwing the truck in there. I started to create an example map, and I really like how it looks, but there's a lot of work to make it production ready. The map is also currently set up as a racetrack, and that's not the way I want to go with the game right now. I'm going to keep refining the core gameplay and working out little issues such as the vehicle not auto-flipping when it lands on its roof. I'm planning to finish the LATC, smoothing out the landscape, adding more windows and doors, stuff like that, and converting all the BSP to static meshes. I'll begin work on the odd jobs mode, which is objectives, just to see how that plays versus the package delivery. Once I have the core single player mode decided, I'll start working on implementing some basic round-based multiplayer modes. The idea will be to have different modes to take the players through different sections of the map. So one might take place in a parking garage, while the next might have you racing through checkpoints over the whole map. I'll create a free roam mode that just allows players to drop in and drive around with other people and then start expanding from there. In terms of the networking specifics, physics, lag compensation, etc., the worst case scenario is that I'll have the core gameplay mode logic down and I'll just need to deep dive, or more likely hire somebody to handle the heavier game specific networking code. Thanks for watching. I'd always love to hear any comments and feedback and constructive criticism you have about the game. What do you think about the character tricks? Can you think of any more in-air tricks that a full-size vehicle can do? What multiplayer modes would you like to see? Leave a comment below or hit me up on Twitter and let me know. Later.